McLaren has generally been defined by its visionary leaders, with Zak Brown replacing the legendary Ron Dennis. But the McLaren team was originally founded by another great man, one who was gone well before his time, Bruce McLaren. The New Zealander came to the sport via hill climbs, sports cars, and his nation's Formula 2 series, where he was championship runner-up in the 1957-58 season. That success put McLaren on the radar of Formula 1 driver Jack Brabham, with whom he would eventually drive at the Works Cooper team in 1959. McLaren winning that year's final race, the United States Grand Prix at Sebring, which made him the then youngest ever Grand Prix winner at 22 years, 104 days. Now fifth on the all-time list behind Max Verstappen, Sebastian Vettel, Fernando Alonso, and Troy Ruttman. He then impressively went back-to-back, taking victory in the first Grand Prix of the 1960 season in Buenos Aires, Argentina. That year would be his best in the sport, the New Zealander finishing 9 points adrift of his teammate Brabham, and the pair well ahead of Sterling Moss, Innes Ireland, and Phil Hill. McLaren's next win came at the glamorous Principality of Monaco in 1962, starting from the front row. He chased down Graham Hill before the Brit's engine gave way, handing him the lead and victory. The next year, he founded the McLaren racing team, the New Zealander joining forces early on with American Teddy Mayer to build a team that would endure long into the modern era. Its debut Grand Prix, Monaco in 1966, a race that McLaren himself drove in for the team, qualifying 10th, but retiring after just 9 laps with an oil leak. For 1968, the reigning F1 world champion Denny Hulme joined the squad and took 2 wins to McLaren's 1. The New Zealanders continued into 1969, Hulme netting the outfit's only win in Mexico. But disaster struck in June of 1970 when McLaren died testing a Can-Am car at Goodwood, a championship title he'd sealed the previous year, his second in 3 seasons. And it was a reflection of the danger of racing cars in those days, with his Grand Prix contemporaries frequently having to attend funerals.
I think memory lane's, colourful in memory, but a lot of people say to me, well, you were at the best times, those were the real good old days. Well, actually, they were the bad old days, because of the deaths that we had, the accidents we had, the horrendous fires that we had. The loss of life was pitiful, and that had to change.
The aftermath of Bruce McLaren's death at Goodwood in 1970 was tough for the squad to bear, given he was its fearless leader and guiding light. But his business partner Teddy Mayer and fellow McLaren shareholder and staffer Tyler Alexander picked up the pieces. 1967 F1 world champion Denny Hulme remained with the team, and he kept the results flowing in, with 4 podiums in that year. The squad was also active in the USA as a multiple Can-Am champion team. But time was needed to rebuild momentum in F1, and in 1974, Brazilian Emerson Fittipaldi joined from Lotus, where he'd won the world title 2 years prior. And he took the British squad to its first F1 world title double, his second championship.
Looking on the history of motor race, the cycle of success of a team, it always happens. Sometimes a team can be 3, 4, 5 years competing and winning, but always, a McLaren can come back very strong. Ferrari can come back very strong. Williams can come back very strong. They already won many world championships. They have the technology, they have the capacity, they have the people to succeed.
2 years later, in 1976, the same McLaren M23 model powered James Hunt to his world championship in a classic duel with Ferrari's Niki Lauda, one later made into a major motion picture, Rush. which led many to make comparisons between eras.
Our problem was that every year one or two got killed. So even if we didn't think about it, we saw it happening. And therefore we were under much more pressure. Today it's much easier, but to drive on the limit we discussed, fight each other and win, this is still the same problem like in our times.
After taking his maiden title with Ferrari in 1975, Lauda went on to secure another for the Scuderia, his second of 3 in 1977, as McLaren began to falter. But it wouldn't be down for long. Not with another visionary on his way to the squad. Up next, McLaren brings in some of the all-time greatest and hosts an internal rivalry that set the sport alight.
في خبر جديد على فكرة.
على مدى أكثر من ربع قرن في صناعة الإعلام العربي،
هي جملة واحدة بقولها لك وبسكر.
MBC تفتح أبوابها لكل السعوديين الراغبين في الانضمام إلى المجال الإعلامي ويطمحون للتقدم والتطور.
تبي تعرف ليش؟
مكان واحد يجمع أهم الخبرات الإعلامية، التقنية والإبداعية.
ايش تبي تشوف بعد؟
ويقدم فرص فريدة ومميزة في التدريب العملي وتطوير المهارات الإعلامية، والعديد من المجالات المكملة في إبراز الصورة الإعلامية الأمثل.
كفو والله.
لتدخلوا عالم الاحتراف انضموا إلى MBC أكاديمي. لمزيد من المعلومات